Hello friends, my name is AJ and welcome to my channel. In this very short video, I'm going to teach you how to have paging scroll views in your iOS app using Swift 5 in Xcode 11. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so here on my screen, I have an example of what I'm talking about when I say paging scroll view. So if I have my page here, for example, which is green, I can swipe from the right side of my screen to the left side of my screen, just like that, and go to a new page, just simply by swiping. I can swipe back to my page, I can swipe forward and backwards just like that. And that is what is called a paging scroll view. And I'm going to teach you how to create it programmatically today. It is very easy to do. And I prefer doing this programmatically rather than using the storyboard, simply because when you're using the storyboard, if you're not careful, especially when you're doing paging views and such, you won't even be able to really see your elements anyway. So if you want to edit your elements every time, you're going to have to increase maybe your size of your view, or you'll have to manage external nib files. So I prefer rather to just do everything programmatically, and then you'll be able to see it properly. So what I'm talking about again, with these scrolling views is simply all you're using is one scroll view. It's very easy to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to create a new single view application. I'm just going to call this scroll view paging or something, something like that. And I'll save this to my desktop. Okay, so once I've done that, again, I'm doing this mainly programmatically, so I'm going to be inside of my view controller. And you can do this on any view controller for any view. I'm just doing it in this case simply because, it's default. This view controller class is hooked up already to my storyboard. So the first thing that you want to do inside of your view.load function is you want to actually create a scroll view that will allow us to page between our different pages. So to do that, I'm going to say let, to create a constant, scroll view, the name of it, equals UI scroll view. This is we're basically creating a normal scroll view object. We have two constructor choices. I'm going to choose a frame one. So frame allows us to specify the location and the size of the new object we are creating. And this takes in, I'm just going to collapse this and this so that we have more room. This is asking me to use a CGRect object for my frame. So I'm going to do that. Just like this, I've created a new CGRect object. And now you see I have an X, Y, width, and height, which means X, again, is going to be the horizontal position, Y is the vertical position, width is the width, and the height is the height. Those two are pretty self-explanatory. And remember, if you haven't done a lot of creating elements programmatically, remember when I'm talking about my page here, the top left corner of my page is going to be 0, 0. It's not in the center. So you'll never really need negative X or Y for this type of case. So to create my scroll view to fill up my screen, my X position will be 0 and my Y position will be 0 because I want to start my element in the top left corner. And then my width is going to be the entire width of my view. So I'm going to say self.view.bounds.width. That is how to get the width of the page that you see. And then for the height, I'm going to, again, because I want the height also to match my screen here, I'm going to also use self.view.bounds.height this time. So now that I have created the sizing for my scroll view, I now need to create my content size. The content size of my scroll view is going to be how big the content is. And because, we're doing scroll views, the actual content size should be bigger than the frame itself because you have to scroll in some sort of direction. So your content size should generally be bigger than the actual scroll view. So to do that, I'm going to do, scroll view.content size. And you can see content size wants a CG size object. So I'm going to say equals CG size. And then open parentheses, and I'm going to choose the one with a width and a height, just like this, size. Now, my height, because I want my actual scroll view to be going in a horizontal direction, my height is going to be the same as my screen because I don't want to scroll vertically, so my height will just stay normal. So to do that, you just do, again, self.view.bounds.height. Now, my width is what I want to change. And my width is going to basically change depending on the number of pages I want inside of my scroll view. So what I'm going to do, and you can do this inside of here, but I'm just going to create a separate variable for it so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about with a little bit more of an annotation. I'm going to say let num pages, and I'm going to set this equal to 3, meaning that this is going to be the number of pages that I have. Now my width is actually going to be self.view.bounds.width times the number of pages. And this makes sense because if you think about it, if I want to have 3 different views that I can swipe between, my width should be 3 times the normal screen size because it's going to be 3 pages. That is why you do self.bounds.width times num pages. Now, when you do num pages, you want to make sure to add a type annotation to this because you want num pages to be a CG float to prevent an error, not an integer type. So I'm just going to do :CG float, and that will specify that my type will be a CG float. Okay, so now that my scroll view's size and content size is set up, I now want to enable pagination. And in order to do this, it's very simple. All you have to do is scroll view.isPagingEnabled like this, and I can set this equal to true. Very simple, one line of code there. Now, the last thing I want to do is I actually want to add my scroll view to my view, right? I've initialized a new scroll view variable, but I actually need to now need to add the scroll view to my actual view. And to do that, I just do self.view.add_subview. So I'm adding a view inside of my view. And the view that I'm going to add inside of my view, saying view a lot, it'll be scroll view. Just like that. So now when I add new elements, I want to add them into my scroll view so that they can actually scroll. Okay, so because I said here that I want 3 pages, I'm going to just create page 1, page 2, and page 3. And I'm going to do this using simple UI views with just colors, like how you see over here. If you, of course, you're going to be adding special things such as text or images or buttons or, those type of things, but I'm simply just going to have views here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say let page 1 view, which is going to be the view that I want to add for page 1. I'm going to set this equal to a new UI view object, and I'm going to use, again, my frame as my constructor here. In the frame object that or the CG rect, which will act as my frame, I will set the X position to 0, my Y position to 0, my width to self.view.bounds.width, and my height to self.view.bounds.height. Just like that. And now that I have my page set up, and I can just add a background color to my page. So I can do, for example, let's do orange. So I can do page 1 view dot background color equals UI color. Actually, I can just do dot orange, just like that. And you can always, of course, set your own custom colors. This is just, I'm using a default color. And then I need to now add my page 1 to my scroll view. And to do that, you just do scroll view dot add subview, and then you add page 1 view, just like that. Now, if I were to run my code, just so that you could see what's going on here, you can see that I now have an orange page, and I can scroll to the left. But now I need to add pages, scroll to the right. And I need to now add pages to the right of my orange page. So to do that, I can do, pretty much I can copy this and paste it over here. I can change my variable name from page 1 view to page 2 view, like this. And I can change the color. Let's say I do yellow here. The only difference that I need to do inside of, to move it onto my second page, is to change this single value, my X value. And instead of, if you look at my page here with my mouse, instead of putting it at 0, 0, I actually want to put it all the way at the other end of my page. I want this X to be the entire width over here of my page, so that the origin of it, or it starts on the right side of my page right here. It'll start right here. So then when I scroll over, right, my position, which is right here, my origin where my mouse is now changing from here to here, just like that with the scroll, and then you actually see the page. So instead of using 0 as my X, I want to use the self.view.bounds.width to access the width of my page. I can do self.view.bounds.width as my X position. Now I can save and run. And you can see that now I can scroll over and there's now a yellow page. So there's an orange page and a yellow page and then a blank page. So now we can do our third page. And again, I'm going to copy this code so I don't have to bore you with creating another variable, which is the same as what we did above. And I can change my color, right? So now I have page 3 view and I can change my color. Let's say I do green to keep it in the rigibib order of orange, yellow, green. All right, I know I forgot red, but you know, that's okay. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to change my X again. And instead of doing view.bounds.width, I want to do view.bounds.width times 2. Really, if you think about what I'm doing, my page 1 is actually at self.view. Or it's actually at view.width times 0. My page 2 is self.view.bounds.width times 1. And my third page is self.view.bounds.width times 3, or times 2, sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm increasing what I'm multiplying it by. I really could write self.view.bounds.width times 0 in my X position here, because that's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of simplifying it. So I know that, okay, you know, anything times 0 is 0, I can put 0 here. And anything times 1 is itself, so I don't need to include it. So if I were to add a page 4 or a page 5 or a page 6, I would simply increment up my multiplying number by 1 every time for every new page. So I can show you how this works by running this. And now you can see that I have 3 pages that I can scroll between. It's very, very, very easy to actually do this. And the last thing is just something for a little bit of aesthetic purposes. It depends on how you want to structure your actual scrolling or paging view. But if you look on the bottom near the near this home bar right over here, if I scroll over, you see how you see my little what do you call it? The scroll bar, right? You see the scroll bar underneath the actual home bar for the iPhone 11. And it depends on it depends on your personal preference if you want that. Like, you know, because they can show, okay, wait, sorry, I'm not sure why that opened up iCloud Drive. I'm just going to ignore that. That is actually very interesting. Anyway, so you can see that I switch from page 1 to page 2 to page 3. But let's say you don't want that scroll bar, it irritates you, or you just don't really, it doesn't fit with your design. You just have to add 1 line of code to fix that. Underneath your scroll view.isPaging enabled equals true, you can simply write scroll view dot horizontal, and you'll see this second option, shows horizontal scroll indicator. If you click this is a Boolean, you can set this to false. And then lastly, if I were to run my code one last time, you will see that I no longer see it when I scroll. So those are, you know, this is something, it really depends on personal preference. Some people like doing those 3 dots also, you know, you see sometimes at the bottom of your page. So all of those things, you know, it just depends on what you prefer in terms of your design choice. But this is how to very easily create scroll views that page, and you can have these different pages in a very nice effect like this. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe for more content. And as always, thanks for watching.